the end of the expansion era, the sun went supernova. Old sub-leagues, lost weathers, and teams and players locked away far beyond our time returned in a confounding, ever-shifting mishmash. What it all meant, no one knew, but consumers attacked with abandon, and the first of the horrors became clear when an entire team, the Kansas City Breath Mints, were incinerated. They were not the last team to be incinerated during this final season of the expansion era, but incineration would turn out to be a mercy. A great wave of teams would suddenly go rogue, leave all their mild highs and low wilds, halls and gleeful leagues, and would themselves perish as a result. But somehow, though deceased, teams would play on. And yet even this was a merciful way to go. Some teams not only died from going rogue or from incineration, some would be nullified. Their name rendered blank, their players' names rendered blank, and some would go farther, their entire existence being wiped from any known reality. And yet even these teams would somehow play on. Less and less games could even be played or perhaps seen, and entire dead teams would play against teams that no longer existed. Each non-existent team listed merely as null team, but in play not even listed as this. Where a team was supposed to be, there was nothing at all. And if you lost against a team that no longer existed, then that loss would be nullified. Coins were no longer valid, having been destroyed by rogue teams. Fans threw all their snacks accumulated over a great many seasons at whatever team that wasn't their own, trying desperately to help each other get to safety. Fans steered their own teams into various forbidden areas, but the black hole expanded, slowly swallowing whole the entirety of Blaseball, nullifying Blaseball itself. All that remained was this: Blaseball is elsewhere. The expansion era was a warning. Expansion, accumulation, infinite growth, there is no such thing. Much like the cosmic phenomena of a sun, growth will force a supernova, devouring all, destroying all, undoing everything that was. And so it came to be that Blaseball left Beta and entered Gamma.
Thank you for joining us in the Immaterial Plane. You have just witnessed the Blaseball coming up. See you next week.
Blaseball is a difficult thing to talk about, quite literally so. There's so much of it, yet so little of it is known, and the canon is largely whatever the fans decided it is. My interpretation of the end of the expansion era is perhaps but a single one, and no interpretation can ever truly be definitive. It's a slippery thing, Blaseball. It escapes anyone's effort to make sense of it all in its entirety, and that's a big part of its appeal. My favorite team is the Canada Moist Talkers, and for the last few seasons of the expansion era we had but 3 players in our lineup, one of which, London Simmons, was almost always scattered elsewhere and thus unable to play. And another, Lucian Patchwork, spent all those seasons trapped in a peanut shell and therefore, likewise, unable to play. And yet, a championship was won this way, with a single available batter. The 3rd championship win for the Moist Talkers, and the team ascended. Lucian Patchwork, trapped in a peanut shell, won a championship, ascended, and survived, as much as anyone could, through the cataclysm that was the final season of the expansion era. So, you ask, who is this strange trapped creature known as Lucian Patchwork? Well, his pre-game ritual is spitting, his blood type is love, and his coffee style is heavy foam.
heavy foam.
During the final season, when consumers were attacking with abandon, Lucian defended himself using a smooth glove of vanity he had acquired 3 seasons earlier, right before he was shelled during peanut weather, which is another thing about Blaseball. There are various types of weathers in Blaseball: blood rain, peanut, birds, flooding, sun 90, jazz weather, which, as is common knowledge, can cause the weather condition of black hole. Weather is a whole other thing in Blaseball. Don't worry too much about it unless you follow Blaseball, in which case you'll likely always be worrying about the weather. Fans in Blaseball can have not only a favorite team but an idol. My idol was, of course, the eminent, gaseous batter Commissioner Vapor. The reason for this back then and to this day is because their pre-game ritual was bracing for the inevitable. And because, well, their name is Commissioner Vapor. Admittedly, every single player name in Blaseball may instill such a tremulous sensation. Commissioner Vapor's legend was only further solidified in my mind palace when they promptly went and won the coffee cup under Inter Espresso. It broke my heart when they were recruited over to the Houston Spies in Season 20, and I spent many coins and votes trying to get them back over to the Moist Talkers, even hoping for a trade between Vapor and Greer Lott at one point, which I'm partly glad never succeeded. For what a bitter trade that would have been. Blaseball is a swirling mass of names and data made to collide with each other in games of fantastical baseball. The rules of the actual games is the closest thing to surety in Blaseball, and even this is being disrupted by everything from jazz weather to salmon swimming upstream to rogue umpires and flooding causing people to be swept into the mysterious elsewhere. A place which may be another plane of reality or merely off the pitch. Unless the two are the same, which is likely seeing as how, according to page 1 of the Book of Blaseball, each game should take place on the immaterial plane, but it doesn't say will, but should take place, implying it may not. Like I said, a swirling mass of data, a wholehearted embodiment of the internet's very nature. The joy of Blaseball is in making some semblance of sense from all this chaotic data. What little sense there may be, however obscure its corner of your experience with it. And Blaseball has inspired art and music and poetry as a result. Stories spring spontaneously into the mind from this beautiful, swirling mass. When you live in that place for long enough, Blaseball itself begins to feel like something genuinely alive. A throbbing, biological thing, its thoughts unknowable, its nature inscrutable. The only thing you can do is, as a gaseous commissioner once so wisely did, brace for the inevitable. Embrace the chaos and see where all this flurry of nonsense brings you, what impressions it stamps into your soft tissue. To me, Blaseball is among the rare pieces of art that inspires in me a desire to share it with unabashed enthusiasm, with unguarded passion, and yet I wish to hold it close to myself, cherish it for what it is to me and me alone. Frankly, my love of Blaseball has been a solitary one. I have no social media, I've not joined any Discord servers dedicated to the sport. I've watched a few YouTube videos, listened to some streams of live commentary, read a lot of the wikis and data aggregation out there, but more than anything else, my time with Blaseball has been spent checking in on it several times a day. Seeing how things are going, checking the feeds, betting on some games, buying some snacks, getting nervous whenever there's bird weather because birds can get players out of their peanut shell prisons. And I mean, Lucian's been in there for like 3 seasons with only his vanity glove for company. At the end of the expansion era, when all was lost, one of the final messages read, "There are many teams, but only one league." That is Blaseball. Blaseball is its fans in a way no other sport or splort can be. As its own saying goes, there is no bigotry in Blaseball. How can there be when it inspires a love for the league itself more so than any one team? I loved feeling heartbroken by Commissioner Vapor's recruitment into the Houston Spies, but I still wanted the Houston Spies to do well. I want the Seattle Garages to always lose and kill the gods. I want Jessica Telephone to live eternal, for York Silk to come back, and for Polka Dot Patterson and her 87 actual fingers to bless the whole of Internet League Blaseball with her superior pitching mittens. And I want for Chorby to perpetuate itself perpetually into whatever shape it may take. There are many teams, but only one league. I have no idea where Blaseball will go from here, but I am here for whatever nonsense chaos it decides to throw our way.
I was walking down the field another day, another ball game. When a pitcher on the mound showed his soul when along came a horde of sharks with teeth so sharp they could cut right through our bats, ready to consume and take away all of our stats. Oh no, look down below. Oh, consumers are coming and they're coming for a soul. You better hope your skin is thick enough or they'll swallow you whole. Oh no.